Put the gun down or I send everything. The words echoed absolute, ricocheting off the damp concrete walls, boots scuffed on broken tile, a flashlight beam stabbed the darkness. You don't want to do this, came the low, sharp reply, her shoulders squared, the air behind her was thick with dust and electric tension. You think I drove 300 miles to walk away now? She lifted the battered phone, thumb poised. Last chance, decide. A click, cold in the gloom. You're bluffing. Test me, she whispered. Her knuckles were white on steel, footsteps, movement in the blackness. Turn around now. A single shaft of light flashed across her face, catching the resolve in her eyes. I'm done being afraid. Silence closed in, thick as the mountain. To understand how she ended up here, defiant in the dark, you'd have to go back to a bitter morning at the courthouse steps. Rain slicked the courthouse steps, soaking Rachel's sneakers right through before she even made it inside. She juggled a faded duffel, a battered backpack, and her daughter's pink, rabbit-eared suitcase as they pushed through the heavy glass doors. At her side, Lily shivered, blinking away the cold with big, anxious eyes, her threadbare stuffed rabbit gripped tight beneath her chin. The whole world seemed to loom hostile, fluorescent lights humming overhead, voices bickering at a coffee station, a schedule board divided into sheriff seizures and tax sale. Rachel's fingertips were numb, but the ice had settled deeper. $9 and some spare coins rattled in her jeans pocket. Her ex-husband's last text flashed in memory, the words cold as the mountain wind outside. You should have listened. They took everything for a reason. Subjects, bankruptcy, divorce, the fact that every friend she had in Pueblo turned their backs when Matt shoved the blame hard enough. Are you cold, Mama? Lily whispered, her little voice wavering. Just a bit, baby. Rachel knelt, zipping the ragged red jacket to Lily's chin. We'll be all right. That was the deal. There was no home, no job, nowhere she could stake the battered Civic she'd lived in for 6 months where police wouldn't tap her window before sunrise. In the county's tight, echoing auction room, every seat was taken, sharp suits, blazers, a man in work boots with mud to his shins, all staring up at the projection screen as Parcel 4711. San Andres Mining Township, condemned by County Fire Marshal, 14 unfit structures on 312 acres. $50 opening, flickered across cracked wallpaper. I don't want to sleep in the car again, Lily whispered, so quiet only Rachel heard. The auctioneer's gavel struck wood, the silence hushed. 50, do I hear 50? Laughter trickled from the front row. 50, that ghost town is cursed. Someone let out a hard, phony cough. You'd be safer in the landfill. 2 seats over, a heavy-set woman in turquoise glanced at Rachel's duffel, lips curled. You got 50, she said. Rachel's jaw worked, she pulled out the last wrinkled bill. 50, here 50, her voice cracked. Heads turned, incredulous. Lily clung to her rabbit, watching. The gavel landed, sold, miss, signed the transfer at the end. The laughter returned, sharp as falling glass. Half hoping, half dreading, Rachel shuffled forward and scrawled her name, the clerk's voice trailing after. We had to condemn the place. Hazard warnings. You want a map or just the shock value? She just smiled, lips thin. Shock value, she muttered. That afternoon, with clouds pressing low, she and Lily sat in the Civic, the deed and a handful of keys on the dashboard. The ghost town's location was cryptic coordinates, not an address. Rachel checked the map, hands shaky, and found scrawled in the margin, Assier's office safe never opened. Fire report, skip lot 49. JD a note, probably more bad news. Still, it was the only clue they had. If you've ever been written off, told you have no shot, that only fools chase what they don't understand, this is a story about what it takes to keep digging, even when the world wants you to stop. They left the town behind. The Civic rattled over potholes as Rachel guided them up winding mountain switchbacks, headlights struggling against the growing dusk. Ponderosa pines crowded the road, their black silhouettes crowding in. Lily's nose pressed to the glass, searching for the first glimpse of home that wasn't rusted fencing, an iron sign reading San Andres Mining Township, 1894 listing sideways in the wind. The last light flickered as they reached Main Street, 14 structures slumping like carcasses along the dead town center. Crows slashed through the sky, their calls fraying Rachel's nerves. I don't like it here, Lily said. Can we go back? Rachel tried to muster hope. We just need someplace dry, we'll figure it out in the morning. All the windows were boarded, even the old chapel's steeple snapped in half. They circled what had once been the square, passing a toppled water tower. Rachel parked in front of the Victorian saloon, its porch drooping dangerously. Sleep came fitful. A hard, fitful wind rattled the car. In the early morning, two black SUVs shot past, tires crunching gravel, headlights blinding. Rachel sat up, hand groping for the tire iron under her seat. The SUVs paused, engines humming. Lily started crying, face hidden in her stuffed animal. Rachel hissed, "It's all right, don't move." One vehicle idled right next to them. A tall, heavy-set man got out, silhouette sharp, face obscured, raising a phone, snapping photos of the Civic's license plate. Rachel barely breathed. Then, just as fast, the SUVs spun away, vanishing around the square's far side. Only then did Rachel's hands stop shaking. They waited, listening to the night. The wind outside carried a metallic bite, like something rusted and dangerous come alive. By dawn, Rachel was moving. She left Lily shivering inside the car with her rabbit, slipped into the cold. SUV tire tracks carved long, curving lines in the grit. She followed them to the back of the saloon. The front doors hung askew and the porch sagged dangerously. Rachel pushed inside. Shadows crept, floorboards creaked underfoot. Something had disturbed the dust, fresh boot prints and a scrape on the wood leading toward the bar's backroom. Rachel's heart skipped, nerves firing. She ran a finger along the paneling, feeling for any difference. There, a floorboard had been roughly pried up recently. The scuff marks were new. Rachel sagged against the bar. "Someone's been in here before us," she murmured, just as Lily's voice rose behind her. "Mama, there's something in the road." Rachel raced out, Lily wide-eyed and pointing. A glossy black Mercedes G-Wagon rolled up, windows tinted deep. For a moment, Rachel's pulse pounded. Her immediate instinct was to grab Lily, run. The Mercedes door clicked and a man stepped out. Impeccably dressed in a steel gray suit, movements crisp, face unreadable. His voice cut the wind like a stiletto. "I'm Mr. Dorsey," he said, blue eyes unfriendly over mirrored sunglasses. "Representing Kindar Holdings. My company owns all the adjacent land. That makes you our new neighbor, or possibly our seller." Rachel offered nothing. "We're not looking to sell." He offered a smile, more a baring of teeth. "I'll double whatever you paid. That's 10,000 cash." He whipped out a stack of hundreds, flashing them. Lily hid behind Rachel, clutching her rabbit. Rachel shook her head. "No." His jaw flickered. "Some things on this land are dangerous," he said, voice softer, laced with threat. "I'd hate for you and your little girl to get hurt. You might prefer the 10 grand, or 25 if that helps you decide faster." Rachel's gaze hardened. "No sale." Dorsey slid his hand into a pocket. "You're braver than most, don't make that a liability." He turned, boots crunching back to his SUV. The Mercedes rumbled off, sunlight glinting maliciously off chrome. Lily gripped Rachel's hand. "He feels bad," she whispered. You could see it in his mouth. Rachel's breath left in a rush. "He feels scared, baby, that's what you saw." Alone again, Rachel shoved back into the saloon. She yanked at the loose backroom floorboard, prying it open with the rusted tire iron. Beneath an iron grate, the kind found in serious prison cells, locked with a shiny new master lock, Rachel's pulse tripped. With a wrench and desperate prayer, she cracked the lock. The grate shrieked open, revealing a shaft lined with steel beams and cable rigging stretching down into dark. She hesitated, then lowered herself onto the ladder, phone flashlight trembling in hand. Creaks and cold grit greeted each step. As she descended, she found modern mining lights and cables snaking deeper underground. At the bottom, a cavernous space, walls left raw except for stacked lithium ore samples, white-purple, banded, shimmering beneath the glare. She leaned close. The rocks shimmered with a silvery brilliance, like winter lightning caught in stone. Gleaming equipment, far too new for a forgotten mine, filled a makeshift lab. Survey documents with the Kindar Holdings logo littered a folding table. Rachel's hands shook as she skimmed them. She turned to run, then froze. Footsteps echoed behind her in the shaft above. Back up top, Lily called, "Mama, someone's coming." Rachel made it to the ladder, climbing hard, mind racing. She bolted the grate behind her, slid the heavy board back into place, and hustled out to the car. "We need to go," she said, breathless, heart hammering. "Now, Lily." They fled the ghost town, tires sliding on loose gravel. Just as they hit the switchback descent, two matte black SUVs roared into the square, engines roaring. One barreled in behind Rachel, headlights bearing down. The Civic barely made it down the narrow road, the SUVs following for a mile before peeling away. At the first service area with cell reception, Rachel dug up a battered prepaid phone and pressed call. "It's Rachel Foster, Chaffee County. There's something wrong at San Andres. People are trespassing mine property, serious hardware. Dorsey, Kindar Holdings, Lithium. If the feds give a damn about the Clean Minerals Act, now's the time." A woman's voice crackled on the line, calm but urgent. "Stay on the line. Can you get to Denver?" Rachel's jaw set. "I'll drive straight, but they know we're coming." She slammed the trunk, double-checked Lily's seatbelt. The Civic pointed southeast, toward Denver's distant glow. On the way, Rachel rehearsed every word. She stopped at a truck stop, neon burning bright. Peering over maps and geological reports, she read through the night, piecing together just how deep the mining scheme ran. The next morning, in a downtown hotel lobby, Rachel sat opposite Special Agent Ruiz, a gruff, sharp-eyed woman who listened to every detail. "You're sure it's lithium?" Ruiz asked, steady. "Positive. They cleaned up most of the old gear. All the new equipment had Kindar Holdings tags." Ruiz rubbed her jaw. "You know what's at stake? That's a $500 million reserve if the estimates are right, but it's dirty, no permits, no EPA filings. If we don't catch them in the act, it'll vanish. We have a window, 24 hours before they shift the load." Rachel felt the adrenaline, exhaustion, and fear fuse into something fierce. "I want protection for my daughter, and credit for everything I bring you." Ruiz's eyes softened briefly. "You'll have it, but you run point. They'll only come out if you flush them." They planned texts and file drops, leverage and security. Lily-colored rabbits in the hotel breakfast area. Rachel sipped burnt coffee, feeling more alive than she had in years. The plan was simple and terrifying. Rachel would return to the ghost town, alone, wire in place, bait Dorsey and his men to reveal what they were hiding. Ruiz's team would be waiting for the transfer evidence, then pounce. "Mama, why can't I come?" Lily had asked, her voice trembling. "Because you're the bravest girl I know, and that means you keep everyone's secrets safe while I go fix what's broken." Early the next morning, Rachel drove alone up the switchbacks, the Civic silent except for the rumble of anxiety. In the rearview, she watched for headlights, every shadow a threat. She parked outside the saloon, door cracked. The cold pressed in, sharp as last time. Inside, a portable floodlight burned in the mine's entryway. Voices drifted up. Rachel drew close. Dorsey, two men in tactical black and industrial equipment she recognized. Dorsey snapped to attention as she entered. "Miss Foster, back so soon, I hoped you'd see sense." Rachel's gaze flicked to the gear behind him. "You think you can dig all this out before sunrise? The feds are already circling." He sneered. "No law north of Monarch. No one checks these mountains anymore. Why don't you run along?" A henchman raised a handgun, silencer attached. "She's seen too much." His voice oiled through the gloom. Rachel stood fast. "You shoot me, every file I have goes to the SEC, FBI, and your New York investors. You know that, don't you?" Dorsey hesitated. "You're bluffing." Rachel smiled, thin, tired, unbowed. "Test me or," she added, "take the deal, walk away and let the feds find what's left." Silence. The henchman's knuckles whitened on the gun. Rachel braced herself, running through worst-case options. Footsteps thundered overhead. Suddenly, voices roared, agents swarmed the saloon above, boots rattling the rotten porch. Dorsey's growl came low. "You set us up. Did you really think you could tear the bones from this mountain and no one would notice? Rachel shot back, adrenaline buzzing under her skin. "Put the gun down or I send everything." She lifted her phone, thumb hovering over send. "You don't want to do this." He barked back, "You're finished, Rachel, you and your daughter." "I'm done being afraid," Rachel said. Her voice didn't shake. Across the torchlit chamber, the henchman's gun wavered, seconds ticked, breath held. Federal agents crashed through the hatch above, floodlights blazing, weapons drawn. "FBI, hands up!" Dorsey spun, panic flickering in his eyes. The henchman surrendered his weapon, the muzzle clattering on stone. Rachel pressed send. Every file, documents, GPS logs, photographic proof, rocketed through encrypted channels to the authorities. Ruiz's voice shouted, "Take them, all of them." Her gaze flashed to Rachel. "You did it. Stand down, we've got you covered." Limit reached in a heartbeat, every secret out, every threat neutralized beneath the burning lights of justice, the echoes of the mines still reverberating. The aftermath was swift. Dorsey and 3 men arrested, hauled off in cuffs. Federal news coverage blared for days. Ghost town mother triggers lithium scandal bust, $500 million mine seized. Rachel gave one interview, face half shadowed, her name withheld, anonymous except to those who mattered. All of Kindar Holdings' mountain land was seized, stripped. Agents excavated the shaft, discovered over 2,000 tons of lithium ore, a retrofitted tunnel complex, and years of falsified records. Dorsey, formerly untouchable, faced racketeering and mining fraud charges. His lawyer's last words to the court echoed, "You broke the law for profit." She stood for the law at great personal risk. Lily and Rachel were offered federal protection. Rachel declined. She just wanted out, money or no, far from the weight of secret tunnels. The townsfolk whispered for months. The single mother who bought a town for $50 and changed the course of an empire. Rachel and Lily moved east, trading the Civic for a dented truck. With government reward funds and a signed letter of commendation, they found a plain house on a safe street. At night, Rachel sometimes still heard the mine's empty echo, the sound of boots in the dark. But when she watched Lily dance across their tiny kitchen, sun through the window, she knew what mattered was above ground, the hard-won freedom to build something new. Sometimes, the richest thing you can own isn't measured in ore or cash, but in the courage to fight for a place in the world when no one else would. If you've ever felt there's more beneath the surface than others see, or wanted a reason to try again, remember, some empires collapse with a whisper and a choice. And sometimes it only takes one voice, unwilling to bow. Spring storms battered the plains that first month in Kansas. Rachel taped the weather radio to their kitchen window, listened to winds rake the roof shingles, and reminded herself that fear was a manageable thing, less ruthless than hunger, less relentless than the claims on her name she'd left behind. Their bungalow was small and square, the edges imperfect but real. Every morning she watched Lily march eagerly to the school bus, blue backpack swaying. At night they brushed teeth together, traded stories, and tried to believe in ordinary peace. There were cracks, of course. Trauma doesn't pack and leave just because your zip code changes. Rachel woke sometimes with the taste of dust and old batteries on her tongue, the residual throb of adrenaline, her phone in her fist as if she'd need to send everything again for life itself. She kept Ruiz's number, memorized the federal agent's dry, gruff voice telling her, "Rachel, you're all set. No ghosts left to chase. You can breathe now." Some nights, lying in the blue-tinged silence, Rachel repeated those words just for herself. 3 months after the bust, a battered envelope arrived. The return address had long since been scraped away, replaced by a block of Denver attorney's office text. Rachel opened it at the kitchen table, Lily wobbling a cracker through her juice nearby. Inside, a single handwritten note on heavy stationery. "You did good, don't forget to claim your part, J.D. Assayer." Tucked behind it, an official government voucher, a finder's fee bonus, and she realized with a kind of dazed laughter her fair market share of the federal lithium seizure. Rachel stared at the numbers, then pushed the paper away as if it might detonate. In a sense, it already had. The number was obscene, the sort of some people mortgaged futures for, enough for security outright and then some. Lily peered across the table. Did we win something, Mama? Rachel folded the paper carefully. Sort of, baby, I think we did. They went out to the hardware store that afternoon to buy paint, just white, the color of new beginnings. The clerk, a sunburned man in a battered Royals hat, watched as Lily picked a pack of stickers. Moving in? He asked, friendly. Rachel nodded, finally. The clerk grinned. You ever need help, you just holler. We take care of our own out here. Rachel realized she believed him. That was new. It took weeks before the media found her. A TV reporter cornered her in the school parking lot, microphone in hand, hair shellacked against the prairie wind. Rachel Foster, Channel 4 wants your voice on the record, she said. Our viewers are calling you a hero. Do you see yourself that way? Rachel shot a sideways glance at the camera. Lily hung from her arm, peeking up shyly. I did what anyone would do, Rachel said quietly. I just wanted my kid safe. But you uncovered a $500 million fraud. She interrupted, voice level and thin. I stood up when it mattered. I think anybody can if they have to. Sometimes you just need one honest day. They aired her story anyway. The phone rang a dozen times, reporters, lawyers, distant relatives sniffing the scent of sudden fortune. Rachel answered none of them. When the mail arrived, heavy with congratulations and half-buried asks for donations, she let it pile up on the porch, giving most of it to the recycling. But some letters mattered, one from Special Agent Ruiz, written in a looping cursive. You saved lives and resources, but more than that, you reminded us why we're supposed to care. If you're ever in Denver, coffee S on me. Stay safe and teach that girl of yours to keep her fire. Rachel paused over the words. She thought about how close she'd come to letting her fire burn out entirely. Summer came uneasy and bright. Rachel decided at last to return to San Andres, just for a day, Lily in tow, the old Civic traded in for a white Ford truck, backseat full of snacks and maps. She needed to see it empty, proof that history had moved on. The road to the old township was rougher than before. The county had thrown up barricades and federal warning signs, all stamped closed for rehabilitation. Still, Rachel found the cut between pines and coasted slowly up the winding drive, gravel pinging against the undercarriage. Where the town square once squatted, there were only orange mesh fencing and the shell of the saloon, half collapsed, dust settling on yellow police tape. The mine entrance was welded shut too, a steel plate burned with the faded letters Danger, Federal Property. No trace of Kindar Holdings remained. The chapel's broken roof had finally caved, wildflowers colonizing the nave. Lily slid down from the truck, blinking against the sun. It looks smaller, she said, voice thoughtful, like a play village. Rachel smiled. That's all it ever was, baby, just shadows and wood. They walked the old path, hand in hand, Rachel brushing dust from Lily's cuffs as they peered into open cellars, peeked at ancient toy trains rusted and abandoned near a storefront. The past remained, but its menace had ebbed, replaced by nostalgia and a strange, unexpected grace. A single magpie hopped onto the broken water tower, cocked its head, and let loose a string of harsh cackles. Rachel watched it, how defiant, how unafraid. Lily tugged her hand. Mama, was it scary, back then with those bad men? Rachel dropped to one knee, keeping her gaze even. Yes, honey, I was scared a lot, but I had you, and I had to be braver than the men who wanted us gone, that's all it took. Lily's face creased with seriousness. I'm braver now, too. Rachel ruffled her hair. We both are. Down in the ravine, the last of the spring snowmelt burbled past, shining where it caught the mid-afternoon light. Rachel let her mind go quiet. The ground beneath her was more than a grave of secrets now. It was a place reclaimed, her name on its deed until the government bothered to record it otherwise. But it belonged to no one, really, not Kindar, not the county, not the ghosts. Some places just need endings. On the drive home, Lily nodded off, rabbit clutched in the crook of her arm. Rachel drove slower than she would have in the old days, letting the silence grow bright and ordinary. Her phone buzzed as they reached the outer stretches of the city. It was Ruiz. Rachel thumbed the call open, keeping her eyes on the road. "Agent Ruiz," she said. "You up for a friendly chat, Foster?" Ruiz's voice was softer, less relentless than during the investigations. "I've been meaning to talk awards ceremony, but honestly, I just wanted to check in." "Still got your coffee? I owe you." Ruiz snorted. "Still owed. Listen, we cleaned up most of the pieces, but there are always vultures circling the scraps. If anyone comes sniffing, you call me first." Rachel's voice held no fear. "I can handle myself, but thanks." "I believe it. Keep your head up. And your girl, she's the bravest I've heard about since I started this gig." Rachel smiled, warmth blooming where fear once had its roots. "We're both learning." They hung up. Rachel felt the moment settle. The world had weight, but it didn't press her down. She was something other than hunted now. Half a year drifted quietly by. Rachel found work at the library, just shelving and registration at first, then part-time as a youth assistant, telling stories to kids who argued about dragons and spacemen, problems simple and finite. She never told the lithium story. It felt like it belonged to a different life. Lily grew quickly, her reading outpacing her age group, her drawings still full of dark forests and silhouetted mountain peaks. But she drew a house, too, a white rectangle with wide open windows and 2 stick people in the kitchen. Flowers all around. Sometimes people asked why Rachel had chosen Kansas. "Feels safe here," she would say. "After you've lived enough places that don't, you start to value quiet, that's all." And mostly it was. Rachel paid bills on the first of the month, swept their porch free of autumn leaves, watched football in the fall, let the world get smaller and kinder. The memory of the mine only surfaced in her sleep, never as terror but as possibility. In some dreams she was back there, facing the iron grate, standing between past and future, her hands shaking less with fear than with certainty. Sometimes she heard her own voice from the dark, "I'm done being afraid." And she would wake, remembering it was true. Mail arrived in late November, government stamped, this time addressed to Lily. Rachel sliced it open, holding her breath. Inside, a simple card, "Thank you for your bravery," hand-printed and signed by Special Agent Ruiz and the Denver field office staff. Folded inside, a gold foil star and a coin stamped with the federal eagle, inscribed with the words, "Courage recognized." Rachel pressed it to her lips before giving it to Lily, who turned it over and crowed, "I'm a hero." "You are, darling," Rachel said. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." They put the coin in a small jewelry box on the mantel, next to a photo of the 2 of them at the fair, faces sticky with lemonade, joy unfiltered. Winter brought its own hush, snow icing the mailbox, muffling the world. Rachel started writing things down, her version, not for courts or news, but for herself, for Lily one day. She wrote about the courthouse steps, the auction, the day she risked everything. She wrote about crows and lithium, terror and resolve, storms and how hope felt when you had nowhere else left to turn. Sometimes starting over is less an act of running than of claiming space, of growing something out of dust and absence. Rachel planted flowers in spring, daisies, marigolds, anything hardy, watching each poke its way from soil, trusting light where there had only been shadows. It was slow, imperfect, and hers. Neighbors got used to her silences, then her laughter. Invitations to backyard barbecues came with hand-drawn notes from children who liked Lily's stories. Rachel accepted most of them, learned names, brought potato salad and her own folding chair. The bank called, offering options for her windfall. She left most of it in trust for Lily, bought a modest certificate of deposit. She used some to help the library expand its after-school program. The rest she let sit, a boundary against the hard times she used to know. One day in early April, Rachel found Lily standing on the porch, fingers splayed against the sunrise, face bright with the future. "It's not scary anymore," Lily declared. "Not even new things." Rachel enfolded her, feeling the truth. "That's right, baby, we're not running, not ever again." As the year unwound, Rachel found what she needed, a small life, yes, but one which stood unafraid before the world. When she finally retired the battered duffel that had seen them through the worst, she found the old San Andres deed tucked in its pocket. She stared at it, wrinkled, stamped, signed with a trembling hand. She thought about burning it, letting the last trace of that place go. Instead, she slipped it between the first pages of her journal, not as a warning, as a record. Sometimes the past is not an enemy, but a measure of the distance you have traveled. On a spring day 1 year later, Rachel and Lily kicked off their shoes in the green backyard, laughter rising through the air, the old trauma a shadow lighter with every passing season. Rachel watched Lily chase the dog through patches of sunlight. She held in her heart the space where fear had lived, now overgrown with roots and blooms. She had won not by fighting, but by refusing to bow, by believing, against the odds, that the future could belong to them. That, she realized, was her real estate, not the deed or the mine or the coins stacked in the bank. But this moment, a bright, ordinary day, courage enough to stand in it, and a daughter's voice echoing hope so bold it carved its own mountain. Rachel looked at the world stretched out before them, open, unpredictable, and wholly, finally theirs. The sun warmed Rachel's shoulders as she slipped her feet deeper into the grass. The years in shadow had finally yielded to this, just the feel of spring, the whisper of a breeze, Lily's bright giggle threading through the quiet. Behind her the house hummed gently, kettle on, mismatched mugs on the counter, fading outlines of flower stickers against the kitchen window. It struck her as almost miraculous, how the world kept spinning, how ordinary peace could return and take root. Lily darted over, grinning, a dandelion clutched in her fist. "Look, Mama," she said, offering the golden tuft as though it were treasure. Rachel took it, twirling the wild bloom. "For luck," she teased. "No," Lily said solemnly, "for wishes. You get to wish first because you're the bravest." Rachel knelt, looking her daughter in the eyes. "I'm only brave because of you, you know." Lily giggled, then, bending close, whispered, "You saved us, and lots of people too." Rachel smiled, brushing a loose wisp of hair from Lily's forehead. "I just did what had to be done. That's how we make new places safe for us and everyone else." A neighbor's screen door banged, and Mr. Sullivan from next door waved a greeting before lighting his grill. Overhead, swallows swooped low, tracing invisible lines between rooftops. Ordinary, good. "Do you think we'll ever go back?" Lily asked, sudden. Rachel hesitated, looking out over the yard, memory flickering, the hush of old timber, the nervous clutch of Lily's small hand, the weight of history heavy in the mountains. She took a deep breath. "Maybe one day, just to see, but only if you want to. We don't need to go looking for danger, not anymore." Lily nodded, satisfied, and touched the dandelion to Rachel's chin. "Then I wish for happy days every year here." Rachel hugged her, holding tight, and sent her running, quick and fearless, back into the sunlight. She straightened, slipped the dandelion behind her ear, and let herself exhale all the worry she'd carried for so long. Tomorrow would come with its own small uncertainties. But for today, there was safety, laughter, and enough hope to plant for seasons ahead. Rachel turned her face to the sun at last, certain of this truth. They were home. And for the first time in memory, she was unafraid.